you walk into these churches, and then you've got Satan hanging above the pulpit.
Yikes.
That's why the Lord says these churches
Wow.
are Satan's. They're not mine.
Okay.
They're
Okay,
hanging up
hang
pictures
on.
of the Sonata of Satan all over them.
Wow.
And the
Okay.
churches erroneously teach
Well.
along their prophecy lines this 200 million man army that's going to march on Israel as being an Asian army. This is an alien army.
No doubt.
And I talk about this, the coming alien invasion with 200 million resurrection of Satan's dead. I have an article on my website, SherryShriner.com.
Well, Sherry, isn't it kind of easy to lay all that at the feet of the lowly, helpful alien who's only here just to pick up, some minerals and some water and stuff to get back to their home base? I mean, is it easy for you to blame them for all the ills of the world?
Well, what if they were just helpless aliens visiting from other planets, with no agenda, whatever. But we know they have an agenda. We know who they are. They're the fallen angels that rebelled with Lucifer. They're also the angels that fell. Enoch depicts them in the first 10 chapters of Enoch. You'll read about the 200 angels that conspired to come to Earth and mingle and cohabitate and procreate with human women, resulting in this progeny of giants and hybrids, and why the Lord destroyed the world to begin with a flood. Noah and his family were the only humans left on Earth with pure human DNA.
Now here, this is going to be one of my favorite emails. It's not a question; it's just a comment, and I'll leave the writer's name off. But it goes. It says, "Wow, blows my mind about Paul being false. It almost fits because all the scriptures that contradicts other scriptures seem to come from Paul and Luke. I must check this out more." And you know what? That is a listener that is astute. That's my favorite kind of listener right there. Rather than offhand saying, "Forget it, you're crazy," just wait a minute. Just give the lady some time, let her explain it, and take a few notes, and then go back and research it. Put it through the absolute most rigorous test you can find, and try to keep your brain out of it and everything you've learned, and let the cards fall where they may.
Yeah, if you just sit back and look at it, he doesn't make sense. He doesn't make a bit of sense. In one scripture in Galatians, he says, I would never get circumcised. The prophets man nothing. And then in Philemon, he'll state, I was circumcised on the 8th day. He does nothing but lie.
Yeah.
It's one lying contradiction after the next.
Yeah, well, this listener didn't say they were going to believe that. They said that they're going to, go through there. And
another
that's
thing
the whole point.
What snowballs Christians to the max believing is that Mark and Timothy and Luke were not the Lord's apostles. They were not part of the 12. They were Paul's disciples. Luke was Paul's scribe. And so when you start to separate the camps, okay, here's the Lord and his 12 apostles, and here's Paul and his disciples, you realize there are two different camps because Paul hated the apostles. He always blasts Peter and James every chance he gets. He hated when he supposedly had this revelation, he didn't go to the apostles for instruction. He said, I got a revelation from the Lord. So he had this divine revelation that brought in all these teachings into the church. I mean, who do you think Benny Hinn and all them get this from? It was Paul who brought in half the doctrines that the churches teach today.
Really? Well, there's no doubt. Some kind lady sent me a video, and it has so much of Benny Hinn's incredibly phony activities, and it's like, how can this guy still be on TV? When are these people, specifically in the Christian community, going to police their own people?
Well, Benny Hinn is the mouthpiece for Satan on earth. He is very high ranking in Satan's kingdom on earth.
Well, they're all wanting a piece of the Christian pie, And
no,
so,
I mean, he started out in the Assemblies of God denomination. They kicked him out. He pretty much came off on his own because every time, the Assemblies of God kicked him out because he was so outrageous. So he went to Toronto. He came to the Toronto Blessing Church.
Yeah.
And there's an excellent video that you can buy, Toronto Blessing Unmasked. And what they do is they go through these tongue speakings of Kenneth Copeland and John Howard Brown and all these guys that speak tongues, and they slow them down so that you can actually hear what they're saying. And they're calling on Satan. Come Satan, ha Satan. They disguise it with tongue speaking. But they're actually calling on Satan to arrive. And I have on hiddenspeech.com, I have Benny Hinn doing the same thing. I did a reverse speech on him, and he's waiting for the owl to arrive. So when this owl arrives, which is a metaphor for Satan, is when he starts his charade. That's when he starts putting everybody under hypnosis. He's knocking people over. He's doing these fake healings. He gets his power from Satan. They all wait for Satan to arrive to the services.
Let's go back to the Jesus Yeshua's words in red. Can a person be completely saved and heaven bound just by those words alone?
By salvation, you know,
Yeah.
what comes in hand is not only believing but in doing.
Mm-hmm.
We have to show evidence of our faith. And people say, well, that's works. We don't have to work for our salvation. No, it's already done. It's been given to us. All we have to do is accept redemption and salvation. But to show, to claim that you're one of faith, you have to have evidence of your faith. Abraham, Noah, all of them had evidence of their faith. They followed the law. Mm-hmm. They followed the Lord. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They did the things that the Lord commanded them to do.
Yeah.
Christians, you can't say a 30-second prayer and then live a life of sin. You know, Jude rebuked that in verses 4 to 6. He was rebuking Paul's teachings of this license to sin mentality. Do what you want because we're under grace. You know, and Jude's saying, no, that's going to damn you to hell. If you're the Lord's, you don't sin. Period. There's no license to sin mentality. If you screw up, ask for forgiveness, but you don't have a license to sin.
No, of course not. And now, Sherry, have you written some books?
Yeah, I've written 2 books. They're basically just compilations of all my articles. Bible Codes Revealed, The Coming UFO Invasion is one, and Aliens on the Internet is another.
Yeah. How does Project Bluebeam fit into that? Do you see that part of this invasion?
Well, it's part of their charades to help bring in the Antichrist as God, because he's not doing it solely on his own. He has a lot of help from Hollywood, our military, and our government.
Yeah.
And because what he's going to, you know, this whole archaeological discoveries thing that's coming up that prove dismantle everybody's faith. Well, here we found bones that prove Jesus had kids or whatever. You know, this whole Moravian bloodline charade that they have going. This whole Bluebeam thing is helping them bring him in as an enlightened angel, like he's a Messiah from heaven. They're going to have the angelic host, these giants, these 10, 11, 12-foot tall giants, these Anics, posing as angels from heaven.
Well, you know, that's quite a picture you paint there, but it sort of seems like all we're really going to see is a few more buses being blown up in Jerusalem and a few more heads hacked off in Iraq. I'm not really seeing these giants. Are they hiding right now or what?
Well, they're not here yet. I mean, some of them are. I mean, they're underneath the earth or around the earth. When Satan has the green light to invade Earth, so they'll be here. The Lord's holding, you know, the Lord's timetable is the one who holds the time. He can speed things up, he can delay. But you know what you can watch out for is the arrival of the Arabs, this Mahdi, this Maitreya that's coming.
Maitreya?
Maitreya. I believe he'll come first before Jesus does.
Yeah.
He's the one that Iran right now keeps talking about. They're waiting for him to arrive. He's their Messiah. And I think that's what's making Israel and the United States so jumpy, and why they want to bomb Iran is because they want to prevent this Maitreya from coming.
Yeah, or they want to kill some of these big tall aliens. You know, one thing I did learn from an early Twilight Zone. There's this little town where all the power went out, and everyone thought each other person was the alien. But this little boy named Tommy said, you know, they always, when aliens get ready to invade, they always send some people out there to scope out the land, see how it's going. You know.
Well, they're all over the place. I mean, they're soul scalping humans. They're possessing humans. They're being born as humans. A literal invasion of these Anak giants hasn't happened yet. Because when it does, we'll see them.
Yeah. What about?
That's what people need to read. Joel chapter 2, Revelation chapter 9, and Isaiah chapter 13.
Well, back over there in the book of Revelation where it talks about locusts with the breastplates of iron and the noise of the horses and the power to sting man. Is that coming up out of the ground? Is that of course, I've heard like the LaHaye people of the world saying that suggests airplanes. Is that UFOs or is that jet aircraft coming up out there?
Well, there's 2 different invasions. There's one that comes up out of the ground, a demonic army, and then there's the one the giants, the Anics, the Anunnaki, that are returning to Earth. And so there's 2 different invasions that are actually going to happen. I can't give a lot of detail on the one because the orgone itself will defeat these giants that are coming, the Anak.
Yep.
And that's why we're getting this stuff all over the world, because it burns them. It causes boils on their skin. I've seen them assassinate large amounts of them. And so orgone is our one defense and protection against the giants that are coming.
Well, in regards to these 2 invasions, I got a quote from Tombstone. I got 2 organic blasters, 1 for each of you. Doc Holliday said that. Which, by the way, I just got done reading my good friend Ronnie McMullen's new book, SoldOutWarning.com, and he talks a lot about locusts and things. So, you know, why is it that the locust represents such an evil entity when in the Torah doesn't God say that we can eat them? They're edible food.
Well, we're talking about two different. I mean, locust is a metaphor for aliens and demonic beings, and the Old Testament, a locust is a locust.
Why don't we get locusts to attack each other? How about that?
That would be,